Welcome back, my yogis. This is Yoga with Annie, and this is yoga for runners. So you don't need any props. Go ahead and grab your mat, and I'll meet you on it. We're going to go ahead and start off in a forward fold, a wide leg forward fold. So take the legs out wide, hands come in between the legs, and just begin to relax the crown of the head down. And we're going to take a couple breaths here just to find our center. Allow ourselves to really be here on the mat. As you inhale in through the nose, you might exhale out the mouth and allow any residual tension to begin to melt away. Couple breaths here. Start to feel yourself rooted down through both of your feet. And check in with all four sides of the feet. Notice if you have a tendency to root to one side or the other. Plant firmly on all four sides. As you begin to inhale on your next inhalation, begin to lengthen through the spine, flat back. And exhale to fold in. We're going to do that a couple of times. Inhale to lengthen the spine. And exhale to fold in. Once more, just like that. Inhale to lengthen. Pause here, engage the core. Pull your chin in just slightly, finding that Jalandhara Bandha. It just means that it's going to lengthen through your cervical spine. And exhale to fold in. Inhale, lengthen the spine, flat back. And on this exhalation, we're going to start to turn to our right, finding a runner's lunge here. We're going to take a moment, bringing the hands to the inside of that right foot. Feel yourself lengthen through the crown. Feel all four sides of that right foot in the mat. And when you're ready, dropping down to that left knee. Take a couple breaths here. Breathe into your right side hamstring. Breathe into your left side hip flexor. Typically, runners have very tight hamstrings and hip flexors, so this could be very intense for you. If you're feeling any pain, or if you feel like that's a little bit too much, maybe you take the hands to your thigh, and this will allow you to kind of gauge a little bit more and change your depth as you need it. But we are going to find a little bit of a flow here. So on the inhalation, we're going to shift the hips back, finding a half split. And take a moment here in this half split to really start to feel into it. And again, your hands might be on your thigh, or you might bring the hands down to the mat or a block. But take a moment and start to shift the big toe in and out. We're kind of windshield wipering through that big toe. And what we're doing is we're getting into all sides of the hamstrings. So your hamstrings are made up of 3 separate muscles. And so one side might be a little tighter than the other. And start to feel into it. And when you're ready, we're going to find our flow. So as we exhale, we're going to shift the hips forward. You might find a slight back bend. That's just extra. And then when you're ready, shift the hips back. Lengthen. You might windshield wiper that toe for a couple of breaths. Inhale to shift forward. And exhale to shift back. Windshield wiper if you like. We're going to take about 5 rounds here. So move as quick or as slow that makes sense for your body. Maybe you pause where you need to pause and explore certain areas. You decide. But allow this practice, and any practice really, when you start to get into yoga, allow it to be very exploratory. So finding ways to allow your body to move in a way that feels good, in a way that complements your specific anatomy. The idea is not to be rigid, right? The idea is that we're going to find ways to move that are helpful to our body and our mobility, and eventually create a better, lighter life. One more round. Lengthen through that leg, find a little more depth. When you're ready, start to shift out, finding that runner's lunge. We're going to shift over to the middle, finding our wide-legged forward fold for a moment. You might shake it out here, might bend through one knee, then the other. When you're ready, coming back through to center. Inhale, begin to lengthen through the spine, flat back. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Once more. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen. We're going to shift to the other side. Hands frame that left foot. You might hold here for a moment as we lengthen through the crown of the head. And when you're ready, bringing that right knee down to the mat. Opening up through the chest. Again, you might have your hands up at your thigh, or you might be down a little bit lower. But feel yourself pulling that forward on that right kneecap. So you're not on your kneecap, rather you're on that soft spot on top of it. So that happens when you shift the hips forward, as if you're pulling your kneecap across the mat. And when you're ready, finding your flow on the exhalation, shift the hips back. Lengthen through that left leg. And again, take a couple moments here in windshield wiper. Let's see what areas are tight. Maybe the whole thing is tight. And that's okay too. That's why we're here. Couple more breaths. And when you're ready, finding that flow, 5 rounds. You might bring the hands up to the quad. Couple rounds of breath. This is a really good warm up into the hips as well. So if you have tight hips, this sequence right here is really good for that too. So say if you're wanting to move into some deeper hip openers, you might do this as a warm up. When you're ready, feel into that hip, couple breaths. Beautiful. Beautiful, guys. So when you're ready, start to shift out. And we're going to shift into a seated, wide-legged forward fold. So bring the legs out wide, start to flex through the toes, and maybe you hang out right here and start to bring the chest down, or maybe you start to walk the hands out a little bit further. You might also find a bind and start to pull the chest forward. Wherever you decide, find your breath. Start to deepen. Start to lengthen out your exhalations. Every inhalation, you feel your entire body expand, your rib cage, your chest, the back of your body, and with every exhalation, you see if you can find more depth. You start to pull yourself forward a little bit because you've told your body it's in a safe space, because you're deepening the breath. And when you're ready, you can hang out there longer. If you'd like to, walk the hands over to one side. You might reach with both hands. If you do, re-engage that opposite sits bone into the mat. Take a couple breaths. Feel yourself tucking your right side rib cage in as if you're going to square off through the chest as you pull it down. Heels are strong into the mat and your toes are pulling back. One more breath. And when you're ready, shifting to the other side, you might take a moment here, plant into the mat, lengthen through the spine, and maybe this is as much as you're going to move today. Or maybe you start to walk the hands out. A couple breaths here. Root down through that right side. Lengthen through the crown. And when you're ready, slowly start to shift out. You might find a little more movement in the legs. Thank you guys so much for joining me. That was yoga for runners. So that's going to loosen up your hamstrings. We worked into the hip flexor a little bit. But it's always such a pleasure to hold space with you guys, near and far. But until I see you all again, namaste.